So the training visa. Now the training visa is a neat little visa that is available for 6 months without problems. The Immigration Department used to give away 12 months worth of training visas status if there was a really detailed training plan and the employer was well established and justified in a 12-month limit of stay to be in Hong Kong for 12 months worth of training. But we had some conversations with the Immigration Department last week where we're led to believe that the Immigration Department are going to make it very, very difficult for 12-month training visas now, that they're going to stick to policy which is 6 months. But these visas are readily granted on the strength that you've got a well put together training plan, and there's a good reason for the training needing to occur in Hong Kong. It's not an alternate to an employment visa. There is expectation of training, and at the end of that training period, the holder of the training visa is expected to leave Hong Kong. There's an undertaking that forms part of the training visa application process, and the applicant who goes on to successfully get one of these training visas is expected to deliver on the undertaking to depart Hong Kong at the end of that 6 months period. In the context of bringing Chinese people in from Hong Kong, from China to Hong Kong under these training visas, then there must be an ownership nexus between the party that they're working for in China and the Hong Kong entity, and the Hong Kong entity has to be a well-established business in order to support a training visa application in those circumstances. But we had some experience in this with a client matter just recently, where there wasn't an ownership nexus, but that allowed the Chinese to come to Hong Kong to receive this training, but the Immigration Department were prepared to look at special circumstances in terms of what was actually going on in Hong Kong that was bringing them to Hong Kong for this training, and it was very special training indeed, and the Immigration Department were flexible as to the ownership nexus in that instance. But traditionally, if you are wanting to bring in a Chinese for training, they have to be working for you for at least 1 year in the Chinese entity, and they need to be brought in for temporary purposes to the Hong Kong entity, and there must be ownership connections between the two in order to make Chinese qualify for this visa type. Everybody else is kind of okay in the name.
Stephen, I've drafted training plans, but I'd be interested to know how, what sorts of thing do the authorities look at, and also is it is it really looked at that closely? Yeah. And also, do you have to demonstrate there's some kind of benefit to Hong Kong, or is it benefit for the individual? You
don't have to show benefit to Hong Kong, you just have to show that the training that's involved can't be sourced or provided anywhere other than in Hong Kong in this instance. The Immigration Department are looking at the training plan to see who's going to be delivering the training, what percentage of their time are they going to be delivering the training. Is it reasonable, for that person to be spending that amount of time delivering that training, given that they probably have other duties to do? So there are then questions as to who else in the business is going to be providing training. You then have to break it down literally week by week by week, subject by subject, and if you're pushing for 12 months, then we've always advised try and break it down essentially by day, if you will. What are you going to be doing each day, during each week, during each month that you're going to be in Hong Kong training, and use that as the basis of your argument to get, as I say, a 12 months, which was a discretionary act by the department, but I think that we're going to see less of that now, so it may just be that you're good for 6 months. But yeah, a detailed training plan is an integral part of the process. Hi.
Would or could the training visa lead to a more favorable case for a general employment visa?
Not necessarily, because if you recall, the test for approval for an employment visa is skills, knowledge and experience of value to and not readily available in Hong Kong, and that experience has got to have been of a managerial or supervisory nature. So if you're undergoing training, any time in training itself isn't going to be supervisory or managerial. But there have been instances where you are a professional for the purposes of the general employment policy before you think about a training visa, and you've got, in all good intentions, a reason for a foreigner to come to Hong Kong to receive that training, and then during the currency of the training something might have happened commercially that has said, whoa, we've got to respond to this commercial opportunity. It just so happens that we've got this resource within our sort of pool set right now. It may well be that he would be the perfect person for this role. So what you might want to do in that instance is perhaps terminate the training agreement, send him offshore, then file an application for an employment visa under the general employment policy, and then make the transition that way. But in terms of it being a stepping stone visa to an employment visa, not usually, no. Great, good. Okay, so what about intern visas? Well, this is just another training visa. If the intern that you want to bring in is presently in school, then you need the participation of their education institute to confirm the value of them receiving this internship experience in Hong Kong. And as long as the entity in Hong Kong that's seeking to sponsor them is well established and a suitable and credible sponsor, the Immigration Department grant these training visas as interns, really up to 3 months, no questions asked, all things considered. On the other hand, if they've already graduated and you want to give them a 3-month training experience or potentially an intern experience or potentially up to 6 months intern experience, again, you can make an application for a training visa for them. And as long as you've got a training plan and all the normal boxes are ticked as regards the criteria for approval, then these visas are granted really quite readily. The Immigration Department are not kind of going to second guess employers' motivations for wanting to afford this experience to applicants. But it's a training visa, there's no intern visa as such. If you've got a student is a foreign national student visa holder and you want to have them get some experience as interns in your businesses, then you need to check their immigration status, and how you do that is ask for a copy of their student visa approval letter, and their student visa approval letter will state exactly what the conditions are for the grant of their student visa. Depending on the course and how long they're going to be educated in Hong Kong, certainly postgraduate students are granted student visas that allow them to take up 2 months employment in the summer anywhere in Hong Kong, and that can be a suitable time to get them engaged as interns without needing to make an application to the Immigration Department for specific permission to do that. Student visa holders, typically at postgraduate level, are also very often allowed to take up to 20 hours a week work on campus, on student campus only. But anyway, check the letter of the student visa approval letter to ascertain whether or not the student visa holders are in a position to work for you as an intern or have this experience as an intern during the time that they hold a student visa. If they don't have the permission to do so within the constructs of their student visa approval, then you have to make a special application to the Immigration Department for a training visa on the basis of a short-term internship, and the Immigration Department usually will grant those without too many problems.
Yeah, we've had situations where with a student's asked to do some work, a couple of afternoons a week, and it's actually been turned down by their department for reasons that, no, you're here to study, we don't want you doing other things. Whereas of course some universities or university departments will say, wow, this is amazing, you're getting industry experience at the same time as doing your course, and it's no skin off our nose, so to speak. We have some great interns, and have had some great interns. One sat in the front there. But it's worth pointing out, again, the same with from a legal point of view, the same as with employees or consultants, that you should get them to sign some kind of non-disclosure agreement. You should also get them to sign an offer of internship letter, which is effectively like an employment contract, but for an intern. Just formalises everything, protects your confidential information and IP. Interns are, in our experience, often excellent and therefore do a lot of work and actually create IP. So you need to be careful with that. But otherwise, a good resource, and I think, like Stephen says, relatively easy to get a visa. So a good resource for a growing business. Yeah.
Default position under intern visas is, if they're foreign nationals, they're more than likely going to need to get the approval of the Immigration Department to engage in it. But check the letter, the student visa approval letter, and it'll tell you what they can and what they can't do.